The following podcast contains adult content, including adult language. I talk openly about sex and other adult topics. If you are under the age of 18 or are uncomfortable listening to sexually explicit narratives, please listen no further. I am not a professional therapist, counselor, or doctor. I'm just an average guy in the swinger lifestyle who likes to share his experiences. This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Please seek a professional if you are in need of guidance or care as it relates to sexual health or alternative lifestyles. Hello, my lifestyle friends, and welcome to Evan Swings, a lifestyle podcast from the perspective of a guy in the lifestyle. My name is Evan, and I have been in the lifestyle for over 4 years now with my wife, Eva. Obviously, I am not an expert, just an average guy who likes to share his adventures in hopes of entertaining and informing listeners. Thanks for being with me today. If you're new to the show, thank you. Thanks for giving me a shot. I hope you enjoy. And returning listeners, as always, I appreciate you coming back to listen to me rant and rave about the lifestyle. In my last episode, I mentioned a couple that had chosen not to see us anymore. Totally their right to make that decision. Eva and I were bummed about it, but they did it very politely, very respectfully. No issues there. But I mentioned that they kept returning to our profile. Like they returned several times. They visited it several times on SDC. And I found that very interesting. If Eva and I no longer wish to see a couple, we may be curious about what they're up to or what photos they post. I will admit that this has happened. I can even give you an example. Way back in episode 10, Eva and I shared a story, one of our two favorite lifestyle stories ever, about a couple that we call the sensitive nurses. If you haven't ever listened to that episode, I highly recommend it. Not to toot my own horn, but that's one of our favorite episodes, episode 10. But that situation didn't work out, and there is virtually no chance we would ever see them again, meaning get together with them for a date ever again. But when they post pictures on one of the club websites that I visit, I admit I take a quick gander at their photos. I look at what they post. She's cute, and I certainly don't mind seeing pictures of her. And also I just kind of enjoy shaking my head and smiling and maybe rolling my eyes, remembering the interesting experience we had with them. But on a site like that, users are not notified when another viewer reads their post or sees their photos. On a site like SDC, you are notified. You get a notification every time someone views your profile, and you can see exactly who visited and when they visited. Therefore, on SDC, I would never visit the profile of someone I don't want to know that I stopped by their profile. I would definitely not visit the profile of someone I have turned down and said I never wanted to see again. I feel it would send odd signals. Now, if we were remaining friends and chatting, yeah, so be it. Let's visit each other's profiles occasionally and, say hello. I think that would be perfectly normal, perfectly acceptable. If you message someone on SDC, I believe it shows up in your views as a profile visit. But last time, last episode, I discussed a couple that informed us they did not wish to see us again. And again, I have to reiterate that they did this politely and respectfully. There were no hard feelings at all. Well, they have visited our profile multiple times. They don't send a message. They just stop by to visit. But I said in my last episode that it had been a while since they last viewed our profile. So I figured, that was probably the end of it. Well, the day after I published that last episode, guess who visited our profile again? I explained our theories on this last time, so I won't go into them again today. But feel free to listen to last week's episode if you'd like to hear all about it. But I just continue to be intrigued by this. If Eva and I have no interest in a couple from the start, or we no longer had interest, we would not visit their profile on a regular basis, or at least a fairly regular basis. Especially when they would know. They would know because of the notifications that were sent by SDC. They would know that we had stopped by to visit. Unless they want us to know. Again, theories discussed last episode, but I have to add to that now that I'm even more intrigued, and I'm wondering if I need to reach out and say something. Not like why do you keep visiting our profile? No, nothing like that. I just mean, maybe I'm wondering if I should just reach out and say hello. We parted on very amicable terms, so maybe they still want to remain friends and are just hesitant to reach out because they were the ones who chose to end things. Perhaps they find it to be awkward. I don't know. It's just an interesting situation to us. All right, some other quick updates for you. I like to update listeners who just may so happen to be interested in, any news or developments regarding the stories or adventures that I've shared in past episodes on this podcast. Like Operation Foxy. If you know what I'm talking about, it has not moved forward in any way, shape, or form. And I honestly expected that. But what I wanted to add about that today is, looking back, although it is a hot fantasy, and trust me, it is a hot fantasy I have, but in all honesty, it probably would not be a good idea at all to hook up with a coworker. It's like asking for trouble. And that probably should have been more clear to me from the start, but I let my fantasies run wild a little bit in my mind, and I got the attitude, you only live once. And I like that attitude. I like having that attitude. But I don't know, looking back, I don't know. If that were to ever somehow happen, I don't know if it would be the best thing. I really don't. So, all right. Also, I've had no new dates with Ivy. If you remember that episode, a few episodes back, had a little solo adventure with her. I haven't seen her again. We still keep in touch occasionally, but damn, she's the weirdest texter I've ever communicated with. I mean, she'll go a week before responding to one of my texts. Like I'll ask her a pretty straightforward question. It'll be a week. And I usually think, okay, I have unfortunately heard the last of her. And then she'll surprise me out of the blue with a random response. She keeps threading me along, saying she still wants to see me again after things settle down for her, but that never seems to happen. She even says things like, I'll be caught up with everything by the end of the week, and then we can see each other again. But that never happens. Nothing seems to come to fruition. So I'm not sure if she's just playing me now, maybe worried about the awkwardness that might come with breaking things off with me. I don't know. But at this point, I would be more surprised at me ever seeing her again than I would never seeing her again, if that makes sense. And lastly, I wanted to share a question that someone messaged me. I'm choosing to share it because, number one, I enjoy receiving and sharing questions with my listeners. It's fun. And number two, maybe someone out there has a similar question, and this might end up helping them. The person who sent me this has a username, but didn't specify if he'd be okay with me sharing that, so I'm going to keep it strictly anonymous. He and his wife, as he explained, are just starting their lifestyle adventure. They live in a large city in Canada, but haven't had much luck meeting other couples yet. He said, and this is a quote here, "We are looking for something a lot more mild than what most people are looking for. We are more of a slow burn, LOL. Any advice?" So I responded to him directly, and I wanted to share my response to him with you, and hopefully you agree that it was appropriate. It was a decent response. So here's what I wrote. Sites like SDC and SLS seem to be the biggest and best lifestyle sites, at least here in the Midwest US. If they are not as big where you are, there has to be an alternative that is just as good and just as big. My advice would be to find the biggest and best sites available in your area. Then set up a profile with a very clear description of what you are looking for. If you are brave enough, include face pics, or at least be willing to share one shortly after initial contact. We usually don't respond to couples who don't have face pics and know plenty of others who feel the same. So that would open up more possibilities. But you would be surprised what the lifestyle encompasses. So many different dynamics, all using the same websites and apps. Don't give up. There are plenty of slow burn couples out there. And that's what I told him. That was my response. I always complain that here in the Dayton, Ohio area, there is just not a whole lot of lifestyle activity. Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati, the larger cities in Ohio, even Indianapolis. Okay, those are the places where you see the higher lifestyle populations and the nicer lifestyle clubs. So I was quite surprised to hear that he and his wife were having trouble finding a compatible couple in such a large Canadian city. But I stand by what I said. Get on the biggest and best apps. You know, the biggest and best apps that seem to be used in your area of your country. Maybe it's Cassidy. I mean, that's a website that I've actually used before, but it's just not very big here. I've heard that it is much bigger in other places than it is here in the Midwest United States. Maybe there are others that I just don't know about. But I do really believe there are plenty of other couples who are starting out and want to move just as slowly as they do. All right. Now, on to my story for the day. What I'm about to tell you took place in the maybe winter or early spring of 2025. Sometime before then, Eva and I decided to go to a club that we do not frequently visit very often. In fact, I think this club is permanently closed now. But we knew a couple of our friends would be there this particular evening, so we knew we would have a good time if we went. We would dance, we would hang out with them. And for the purpose of this episode, I will refer to this couple as Vinny and Penny. They had become pretty good lifestyle friends of ours, but they are just not good long-term planners, like not good advanced planners. We often try to make plans with them like a few weeks in advance, and they have a hard time committing, and then things end up falling through. We make other plans after getting tired of waiting on them or something else comes up. But they are genuinely one of the most fun couples we have ever met in the lifestyle, so we kind of give them a pass. We just kind of know that this is just kind of the way they are. And we knew that they would be at this club, and we really wanted to go and see them. So we decided to go. Now, Vinny is the type of guy who will talk to anyone and everyone. Doesn't matter if you are 100 times out of his league, he'll still say hi to any woman. He just has a way with conversation, and he is just so much fun to talk to. And I really admire him for that. And his wife Penny is great too. Also, very easy to talk to. Very down to earth, very fun. And they are both no drama. And I like to think that Eva and I are no drama. So we tend to be fairly compatible. We know we can say anything we want around them, and they can say anything around us. So we meet them there, and we are hanging out, and the four of us are approached by this couple. They're about our age and very attractive. Very attractive. Like, the woman is incredibly sexy looking. Well, it turns out that they were new to the club and actually not even originally from this country. The chances of them ever hearing this episode, is minuscule. But I'm still going to change the name of the country they are from, just in case. I'm going to say they were from Colombia. Okay, so we'll call them the Colombians. Armando and Erica. But again, they're not from Colombia. So because Vinny is so good at talking to people, we ended up striking up a conversation with them. But it was very clear that Vinny did not speak English very well. I misspoke there, sorry. Armando did not speak English very well. The Colombian, Armando, did not speak English very well. And Erica, his wife, hardly spoke any English at all. It made me wish I was fluent in Spanish, let me tell you. They were really nice, and again, really attractive. Like, she was smoking hot. We exchanged contact information, talked to them off and on the rest of the evening, and then later connected with them on the club's website social area. And they were the ones who actually reached out to Eva and me. They seemed eager to see us again. I keep saying Vinny, Armando did the messaging, and it was clear that he was either using a translator or just using very straightforward English, like no slang or anything. It was just very formal English. Well, because they didn't speak English well, it was tough to get to know them. And while I don't think I don't need a connection with someone before I play with the person, Eva still does. So I didn't think this would ever work out. If we got together for a dinner date, how would we even communicate? Especially with her, because she spoke virtually no English. And we love board and card games. But playing them with someone who hardly speaks a word of English, that would be quite a challenge. Nevertheless, we kept in touch because I knew that if we included Vinny, like if Vinny was part of this, he would be like the liaison. The dude can talk to anybody, even if he didn't speak their language. Somehow he managed. So I admit, I kind of hoped and hoped that something might materialize someday. And surprisingly, it did. Vinny and Penny invited us out one evening. The plan was to go out to dinner and then head to a hotel to play. The day of our date, like that day, I got a text from Vinny. He asked if it would be okay if he invited the Colombians to join us, Armando and Erica. I asked Eva because if by some strange chance it worked out, she would be in a situation where she would be having the opportunity to play with someone we haven't really had a first date with yet. And that's, as I mentioned, that's one of Eva's rules. But Eva surprised me and said she would actually be fine with it. I informed Vinny, and I was even more surprised when just before we were about to head out the door, he sent me another text that said in all capital letters, "They are coming." I was like, whoa. I couldn't believe it. I did not see that coming. But I figured they would just join us at the restaurant, hang out with us for a bit, and then, go their separate ways. They'd probably, head home or go somewhere else. They probably wouldn't want to play with us, would they? Well, they arrived at the restaurant and we had a very nice meal. We all chatted and did our best to include the Colombian couple in our conversation. Vinny, of course, was the best at this. When dinner was over, he asked Armando if they wanted to come back to the hotel with us. He had a brief exchange in Spanish with his wife and then said that they would enjoy that. The surprises kept coming. In my mind, I'm thinking, is there really a chance that I'm going to get to play with this hot Spanish woman that doesn't even speak English? Well, we got back to the hotel, and we talked, and laughed, and hung out, and I really don't remember how the play started. I may have to ask Eva, but it was probably her who initiated it. I remember her walking out of the bathroom in some sexy lingerie. Now, this was a suite that we had got at the hotel. So it had a couch with like a pull-out bed. Vinny and Eva, Penny and I, the four of us, began playing on the main bed. While this was happening, Armando and Erica started playing together on the sofa bed. In my head, I figured this would be how it went for them. They would probably do their own thing tonight, maybe watch us, get watched, but wouldn't participate in any actual swapping. Because of the very thick language barrier, it was difficult to discuss dynamics and expectations here. So we were just kind of going with the flow. We were all having a good time, and after a while, Penny gets off of me and just casually walks over to Armando, who is still fucking his wife on the sofa bed. He continued to do this while Penny started kissing him and touching him. I saw that as an opportunity. Eva was still busy with Vinny, so I joined them, Armando and Erica and Penny. I joined them and came to the side where Erica was. and I started touching her chest, her boobs, her nipples, and then I eventually got brave enough to start like licking and kissing and sucking. I started kissing her neck, and then I started to kiss her on the lips. Now I have to do a callback here, a callback to a previous episode. I published an episode once, I don't remember the number, but it was about the worst kissers ever. Well, this hot Colombian woman, for how incredibly sexy she was, could not kiss worth a damn. She would have given the worst kissers ever a run for their money. Basically, she just stuck her tongue in my mouth and just like left it there. Did nothing. Didn't move it. Didn't do anything with it. It was very weird. And it got me wondering, is this a cultural thing? Is this the way Colombians kiss? I don't have an answer to this question for you listeners. I'm sorry, but if you have noticed a difference in the way people kiss based on their nationality, their wherever they're from, I would love to hear from you. Help me solve that mystery, because I'm just very curious about that. Anyway, back to the story. Erica was really, really enjoying being fucked by her husband while I was kissing and licking and caressing her. She even sat up a bit and started kissing my chest and lightly biting my nipples. And I have to say, I hate having my nipples touched during play, let alone bit. So, I can't think of another part of my body that I would say is off limits during a play date, but my nipples are. I know that sounds weird, but it's just my thing. You can touch me, kiss me, wherever you want, except my nipples. So, but anyway, I was going to tough it out though, because this woman was smoking hot and I didn't want to ruin anything. So I let her do that, and she started stroking my dick too. At about this point, Armando pulled out and moved on to give Penny his undivided attention. And meanwhile, I should point out that Eva and Vinny were still happily engaged on the bed. So I had Erica to myself now. I continued to touch, kiss, caress, and fondle, and also now finger her. Vinny had put on a condom and had started having sex with Penny. So I thought, now this is my turn. But it was a bit awkward for me because I felt, I'm all about respect, and I felt like I needed to ask permission. But she didn't speak English, like at all. She seemed to know a few words, and that was about it. So I made some very, very awkward and probably stupid-looking gestures, pointing to a condom and asking, "Is this okay? Are you okay with this?" She nodded, and I was thrilled. Man, it was so hot fucking this woman while she said things in Spanish that I could not understand in the slightest. And she would keep pulling me into her deeper and deeper. I was very pleased to feel and see that she was having a good time. And then things got a tiny bit strange after that. And I can't recall all the details now, but somehow Vinny ended up coming over and he started playing with Erica too, joining in. Eva came over and started playing with Penny. And then I kind of joined them, and then Armando went and joined Vinny with his wife. They ended up doing a DP. Meanwhile, Eva, Penny, and I had kind of a little FMF on the bed. What ended up being most strange, though, is that Eva never got the opportunity to be with Armando. To this day, we wonder if that was intentional. Did he have no interest in her? Eva was actually looking forward to having sex with him because he had an uncircumcised penis, and that is something she had yet to experience. But he seemed very distracted, understandably so. Still, if it were me, I would want to make sure I had the opportunity to play with a woman I had never played with before at some point. Yet, it did not happen. And I don't think the theory of him not being interested holds water. Okay, that was mostly Eva's theory here. And I don't think it holds water because since that evening, he has messaged us multiple times, wishing Eva a happy Mother's Day, wishing us a happy 4th of July, and a couple other times just to say hello. Sadly, nothing has materialized, though, since then. We have asked them to hang out, but he says they're very busy with work and never know when they're going to have, end up having a free evening coming up. Hopefully someday. But my theory as to why he never made it a priority to have sex with Eva, he was 100% focused on his wife's pleasure. She was his top priority. So when she wanted a DP, he took care of her instead of moving on to Eva. And if I'm correct about that, good on him. Because your spouse's pleasure, in my opinion, should always be your top priority. Well, I guess your spouse's safety should be your top priority, but also your spouse's pleasure. But overall, it was an interesting experience. Playing with someone who hardly spoke any English. An interesting but fun experience. I have a hard enough time reading women who speak perfect English. Being with someone who I didn't understand in the slightest was an interesting experience. What if I was doing something she didn't like and was telling me to stop and I didn't realize it? Or even worse, what if she wanted me to do something different to bring her closer to orgasm? And I had no way of knowing it because she had no way of telling me. Like, harder, or yes, that's the spot, or do this or do that. I know. I overthink, I do, but looking back, it was one of the 2 or 3 biggest surprises we have ever had in the lifestyle. We went into that evening assuming we would just be playing with our usual friends, the friends we had played with several times prior. Instead, it turned into a group thing where we played without our usual Eva required vanilla date first. And that's my story. That'll wrap things up for this week's show as well. So I hope you enjoyed the story. If you'd like to connect with me, I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear if any of you listeners out there have had a similar experience where there is a language barrier. How did you act? How did it work out for you with this, with the language barrier? So if you'd like to contact me, you can reach out to me on Blue Sky. Just go to the Blue Sky app or the website and search for Evan Swings. Or you can find me on Instagram or Kik at my fake name, which is Evan Dienson, EvanDeanson. Or, of course, by old-fashioned email, evandienson@gmail.com. I welcome your thoughts, your questions, your comments, your suggestions, your hot stories, whatever you want to send my way. Don't be shy. I am here for you. Until next time, take care, and remember, be safe, be naughty, and always live life to the fullest.